Amy.
I'm Laura.
And we are
Two Paper Girls. Today we're doing the Fantasy City book tag. We were tagged by Rhianna over at LittleLibrary 97, so go check her out because the videos are great.
There are 9 questions and they're all about if you had your own fantasy city, how would you build it and who would help you out and that sort of thing. And this is a really cool tag because we've recently gotten quite a lot into fantasy, so let's just get straight into it.
Question 1 is you are building and developing your own fantasy city. Which character do you hire to advise you in the building?
I struggled to think of someone for this, but then I thought of the 4 founding people of Hogwarts, and so I chose Rowena Ravenclaw because I like Ravenclaw. I would be in Ravenclaw, and she would help me build it because she built Hogwarts and she founded it, so she knows how to make a fantasy city.
I went with Gandalf from Lord of the Rings because I feel like his magic would definitely come in handy when it comes to building a city. He could just quickly build the buildings with his magic and it'd make the whole process a lot quicker, and I just feel like he'd be a good choice for this.
Question 2 is which world or world combinations is your fantasy city set in?
For this one I'm going to go with the Wizarding World of Harry Potter and Middle-earth from Lord of the Rings because I love the Wizarding World, and if I had my own city I definitely want it to be a part of all of that magic that I love from J.K. Rowling's world that she's made. But whenever I think of the Wizarding World, it's always hidden amongst the Muggles and it's all surrounded by cities, so I want to combine that with Middle-earth, so it was like a wizarding Muggle-less world with lots of green and hills and beautifulness. I really couldn't think of a name, so I'm just going to go with Lauratopia because why not?
The combination of worlds that I pick are Darling from the Throne of Glass series and Dawn from the Game of Thrones series because I love like a glass world but I don't like the cold, and Dawn is really really warm and sunny, so I'm just thinking warm glass everywhere. That would be really dangerous but also really nice and pretty, and I would call my world Glass Sun because it is glass in the sun.
Nice. Question 3 is what are the main magic systems used?
I would use the Legacy system from Pittacus Law series, the Lorien Legacies. When you just become of age, you just get these cool magical powers. You can like spit fire from your hands or turn invisible or control the weather. It's basically like X-Men Legacies,
Cool.
but actually Legacies in a book.
The first magic system I would want is just the ability to fly like in Peter Pan. Just if you're happy and free, you can just float up with the fairies and have fairy dust to help you fly. I think that would be really cool, but I think you need a little bit more magic than that. Of course I'm going to go with the magic system that matches the setting of my world, and that would be the Harry Potter magic system, so just wands and sort of having that flexibility to do what you like but also be able to fly. So that would just be the best of both worlds.
Question 4 is you're building your city but you're lacking inspiration, so which city do you turn to that will give you inspiration?
I would turn to Narnia because I think this is such a creative world, and it's one of the sort of first big fantasy worlds that people fell in love with, and it inspired people like J.K. Rowling to help create their world, and it's just super creative with all the different creatures. There's a bit of magic and there's lots of change of scenery, and I would definitely think Narnia is a good place to go for some inspiration.
I would choose just Westeros in general because it has all these different cities. It's not just like one city. Like they have the north, it's like the north of England, but it's not. It's like Winterfell where the Starks live, and then it's all hot in the south in King's Landing. I just like how it kind of uses the earth now, but it has a fantasy twist on it. And I just think this is so detailed and it'd really help for inspiration when building an actual fantasy city.
Question 5 is you built your city but you need someone to help govern it. Which character do you choose?
I would choose Aragon from the Lord of the Rings series. He's just amazing, and not to spoil, but he is the king of this entire place, of Middle-earth. He is just amazing, and you wouldn't mess with him in a sword fight, and he's kind of gorgeous. Like, since I'm reading Crown of Midnight, I'm like shipping the king, the captain of the guard. So it's just like the guy who can wield a sword properly. That's not a pun. He is the best person to help govern.
I would pick Miss Peregrine from the Miss Peregrine series by Ransom Riggs, just because she's very calm and collected, and she just, I don't know, she just has her head screwed on properly. Like, if you want someone to help you govern, you need someone who's sensible, and I did think Dumbledore, but I don't know, he's a bit all over the place sometimes. I can imagine him making some silly mistakes, whereas Miss Peregrine is just very, very chilled but sensible, and she could help rule a world, definitely.
Question 6 is now your city is all set up, you have to trade to keep your city funded. The question is, which character would you trade with and what would you trade with them?
I would trade with Bilbo Baggins from The Hobbit, just because along his journey he picks up quite a lot of magical artefacts. I'd like some blue glowing swords, you know, that bread that keeps you really full. He has the armour, the super feather-light armour that stops him from being stabbed, and he just has a lot of goods that would definitely come in handy in a fantasy world, and Bilbo's nice. He'd happily trade, I think, for some nice food or something.
I would choose Bronn from the inheritance cycle, especially from Aragon, because Bronn is in Aragon. I would love to trade with him. He has dragon eggs and he's just a really nice guy. He could teach me how to sword fight like he does at Aragon. The training montages in this book are so good. Sorry I don't have a cover. It's a very old book that I own and it just got ripped off and it's just gone somewhere. But there's the spine, so you can see it. It's real. It's really Aragon, I promise.
Question 7 is you and your government need a bit of advice. What wise character do you turn to?
Of course, I'm going to go for Gandalf the White from Lord of the Rings. Not just Gandalf the Grey. This is when he's had like Gandalf .2 and he's like come back and he's like extra wise because he's like been through a lot of shit and he's gone really smart now and he would just help me and he doesn't take nothing either. Like Dumbledore, like he ends, like he's wise, but if I was going to pick Dumbledore, I would have picked Dumbledore from like book 1. I would have picked him. But as he just progressed, like Gandalf just pipped into the post in wiseness.
I'm going to go with Aslan for this, partly just because at like my city's council meeting you could just have a massive talking lion, which would just be interesting in itself. But he's a very wise character throughout this entire series, and in some ways he's kind of like with Amy. I would go for Dumbledore, but he's wise, but he does also make some mistakes, and Aslan's just consistent clever lion throughout, so I think I would go for Aslan for this.
Question 8 is, oh no! Someone's like trying to attack your city, like who is leading the enemy's army?
I'd hate to say it, but I feel like Selena is probably the one leading the army because she's super strong and she could easily lead an army, and I wouldn't want her to be my enemy, but she's so badass, and I don't know, maybe she's anti-lion, who knows, but
either way you're gonna die.
I'm gonna die.
I would choose the Fiend from the Waterstone Chronicles, i.e. the Spook series. I love how they call him the Fiend. He's not just the devil or Lucifer, he's the Fiend. I opened the book to see, what do they call him again? I just immediately saw it because they say it every 2 lines. And he's just like, he's a devil. He would be leading the army, but like the Spook, I would overcome this.
Question 9 is, thankfully you win the battle. How do you celebrate?
I would go for a drink in the Prancing Pony. It would be so cute. I could be with all of my fellowship and I could just drink in the Prancing Pony and have a prance and party with the hobbits. Then we could always go back to the Shire for an after party and just have some fireworks. And just partying in Middle-earth just sounds like the best thing.
I would go for the Shadowhunter nightclub in actually City of Bones, but this was the nearest one to grab. I can't remember the proper name of it. But it's just loads of Shadowhunters.
Pandemonium.
Pandemonium, yeah. Just loads of Shadowhunters getting together in their leather, having a little dance with their runes, and it'd just be a great way to blow off some steam after a hard battle against Selena.
We sound like alcoholics. We're like, let's go for a drink.
You want the pub, I want the club.
So that was the end of the Fantasy City book tag. Thank you again for Little Library 97 for tagging us.
We really enjoyed this tag. It had quite a few different questions, which is really fun. So we're going to tag Leah from Drums of Autumn,
Kales from KalesKorner,
and Danni from Danni Darling.
We hope you enjoyed doing this tag as much as we did, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye! I'm not reading the blurb. Not reading the blurb.
I'm wondering if you can read the blurb.
I don't think I can read the blurb.
What's the world called in Narnia? Oh Lord, oh Lord.